Hey, what's up? Thanks for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be talking about a clip from Dr. John Maxwell on how to build your brand. Should you build a brand? Should you get really good at your craft? Let's talk about it. Hey, thanks again for clicking on the video. I'm going to dive straight into the content. This is a clip that Dr. John Maxwell posted on his Instagram. I think it's just about 15 seconds long, an Instagram reel. And I saw it probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it really has just stuck around with me because I think it's something that is a little controversial. And if you just take it at face value, I don't really think you can get his full meaning. So let's watch the clip together, and then I'm going to dive a little bit more into my thoughts on this clip from Dr. John Maxwell.
If you really want to brand yourself, can I just talk to you for a moment? Would you quit branding? Why don't you just get good? Let me tell you something. When you get good, any brand works. And if you're not good, there isn't a brand that can save you.
So essentially he says, can I talk to you for a second? And if John Maxwell were to sit down and talk with you, you would be like, yes, you can tell me whatever, because Dr. Maxwell is one of the leading, if not the top leadership guru, coaches, whatever you want to call it. So he says, don't build a brand, get good. If you're good, any brand works, but if you're bad, there's no brand that can save you. And I think we can take that almost like it could be a little controversial because obviously a big thing right now with everything, I mean, with my channel, with even just our personal job experience and different things, all of us are constantly trying to brand ourselves to be like, okay, I am the social media person. I am the HR person. I am the nurse that you want to hire for your hospital. Like, I am the person. I'm trying to brand myself. And so Dr. Maxwell's whole thing is don't focus on the brand, but focus on getting better. And like I said, I think if you were to look at this and say, oh, well, he doesn't care about branding. He doesn't care about, building a brand. Obviously, he has built a brand. He has a brand around his name. I mean, literally his name, if you say I'm a Maxwell coach, people know what you're talking about. They know the brand that they're going to get. They know the excellence that they're going to get. So obviously he's not saying that brands don't matter or brands aren't important. But I think what he's diving into is a little bit deeper, and it's kind of an issue that a lot of us face, if I'm being honest, and especially people that are in my generation, where we focus on the brand before focusing on what we're actually going to be doing. So if you study Dr. Maxwell's life and understand kind of how he came up, he learned from the School of Hard Knocks. He learned from pastoring smaller churches and then growing them into hundreds and thousands of members. And now he's putting those things into writings and teachings and all that kind of stuff. And so he didn't start out when he was a younger guy and be like, okay, I am now John Maxwell. I have arrived. I am the leadership guru. No, he put in the work. He did the hours. He met with people. He had the hard conversations. He did all of those things. And then eventually, because of who he is, he was like, okay, I need to put some branding around this. I need to put some a website. I need to put some logos, all that sort of thing. And so I think what it comes down to is he's not saying don't build a brand, but he's saying work on your craft more. Put more time and energy on your craft or what you're selling or what you're doing, and focus on that first before you worry about branding yourself. Because I've seen a lot of people that have great branding, great websites, great YouTube channels, great logos, all that sort of thing, and are horrible at their craft. They do not know their craft. They cannot sell, they cannot deliver what they're selling online. But then I also know the flip side, and this is where we often have to understand that branding is important, because there are people that I know who are incredible at their craft. My craft is kind of speaking, preaching, the church world, who are incredible at their craft. They're incredible preachers, they're incredible pastors, but no one knows them because they have not been able to figure out how to put their craft, what they're doing, in a package that people can understand. I truly believe that some of the greatest preachers in the world we've probably never heard of because they don't have that branding side of things. They've focused everything on their craft, which is amazing, but you got to put a little bit into that branding. Someone, again, just in my world, the preaching world, the church world, that comes to mind are two guys that I think have done an incredible job at this, and that is Rich Wilkerson Jr. and Chad Veach. Two incredible communicators. They're senior pastors now. When I heard about them growing up, they were kind of like in the youth pastor world, traveling, speaking at youth conferences and that sort of thing. And they are both phenomenal leaders and phenomenal at preaching and public speaking, but they're also great at branding. And they did something that I feel really, really helped them, because they had years of just doing the grind, doing the behind the scenes. If you look at their stories of youth ministry and all that kind of stuff, even their families, the way that they were raised, there were years, if not decades, of them just putting in those reps. And then I remember when they both got on Snapchat, and they were able to brand themselves because they already had the goods, basically, because they already knew, okay, we know how to be youth pastors, we know how to speak, we know how to preach, we know how to be whatever. They were able to kind of brand themselves using this new technology and this new way of doing things, and it accelerated them to incredible heights. And I believe that there are probably people out there who, not me, I'm not saying me, but I'm saying out there somewhere, there are probably people that are just as good at preachers as them, just as good at leadership as them, but they haven't quite got that branding aspect yet. And so that's kind of the thoughts that I would kind of explain what Dr. Maxwell is saying, again, because this is like a 15-second clip. I'm sure he probably said all of this in his full talk, but I think it's kind of a false dichotomy, because right now you have people, it's like, well, it's all about branding. It's all about the way it looks. It's all about, whatever. And even on YouTube, even on social media, you can kind of see this is where, there are people who just put out stuff, and it's just like, just put out content. And then there are other people that are like, no, I want it to be super branded, and I want it to look a certain way and feel a certain way. And it's almost like two different schools of thought. And so what I want to encourage you with, if you are building something right now, if you are building a personal brand, if you're building a business, whatever it may be, definitely take this advice from Dr. Maxwell that you need to focus on building yourself, building your business, building your product. Get all of those things down first and put the most energy into that, and then focus on the branding. Not to say that the branding is not important, not to say that the look and the feel and all those things aren't important, but you've got to have the goods first. And so I would encourage you, focus on your product, focus on your craft, whatever that is. If it's speaking, if it's art, if it's a trade, whatever it may be. For me, speaking, just a personal story. I started speaking, and I felt like I was going to be a speaker, and I wanted to speak, but I had no audience. No one wanted me to speak for them. So what I did for a certain period in my life is I actually wrote a sermon every week, even though I knew no one would listen to it. And so I actually wrote and delivered a sermon in my living room with no one around, in my apartment, all by myself. Delivered that sermon every week because I wanted to make sure that I had the goods to back up what I would future be branding. And so now, I am working on my brand. I'm working on my Instagram. I'm working on my YouTube. I'm trying to get some of my thoughts and some of my things out there, but I've been working on stuff behind the scenes for a long time. And I would say that probably anyone that you look up to, anyone that you aspire to be, anyone that you've read their books, whatever it may be, even if they don't talk about it a whole lot in their books and in their podcasts and all that sort of thing, there's always been a behind the scenes. I like to call it, there's always a story behind the story. There's always a story behind the story. There's a time where they were putting in those reps, they were putting in that practice, they were doing cold calls, they were doing all these different things. And now you see them and you're like, man, it's so branded and so awesome. But it's because they put in the work first. And what you have to understand is that the brand is not what made them. The Instagram filter, the fonts that they use, the way that they talk, the way that they dress, that is not what made them. And I know in my world, in the church world, we even get this confused sometimes of where if I dress like them or if I have that building, no. All of those things are an addition. All that thing is great. But if you don't have the product right, your branding's not going to work. Like you said, if you're not good, if you can't deliver, there's not a brand in the world that can save you. So branding is great, But if you're not good, branding's not going to make up for your lack of skills and your lack of experience. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you guys enjoy kind of these little reviews where I add some commentary and some content, I pray, I ask, I beg that you would leave a comment, that you would like, that you would subscribe to this channel. I would love to make more content like this, and when you do those things, it helps the YouTube algorithm know that people like this, and it gets out to more people and hopefully will help more people. So make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.